We're learning more about the woman found dead following a house fire in Iola, Kansas. And a family's plea for people to get vaccinated after watching firsthand the deadly potential of COVID-19.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Webb City police say 2 officers were hurt and a suspect was shot when a trespassing call turned violent. This is KOAM News at 6. Happened last night on the 800 block of East Fountain in Webb City. The police department says officers were responding to the area for a trespassing and illegal dumping call. When they arrived, they encountered a truck and trailer with several people. They say when officers tried to contact the people, a fight broke out and 2 Webb City officers were hurt. Police say a suspect tased an officer and tried to get control of the officer's gun. When that happened, authorities say the officer shot the suspect. The suspect was taken to the hospital. A police officer was treated at the scene and another was also taken to the hospital. The Webb City Police Department has called in the Missouri Highway Patrol to investigate. Authorities released the name of a woman who died in a house fire in Iola, Kansas yesterday. It was Nancy Kate Newkirk. The fire chief says the woman in her 60s lived alone in that home on North Sycamore Road. Chief says the fire started in the bedroom, but the cause is undetermined. Investigators are processing evidence. Checking in with Nick Kelly now for a first look at the weather.
Even though we kept things pretty quiet for today, Dad, we definitely noticed an uptick in temperatures, upper 80s to near 90 for most today. But at least we're seeing a little bit more in the way of bluer skies with a little bit of cloud cover passing nearby on the east side of Joplin. And there's not much to show on the radar network except for a few little showers that actually managed to materialize late this afternoon. It's mainly north of Nevada, north of Walker, right around Shell City. Again, maybe a few showers at best. Otherwise, everyone else is dry as we broaden the view out. And this is how we're going to stay for the rest of the evening. And eventually we will see temperatures turn mild later on tonight, but we're still in the upper 80s to near 90 across much of the region. With the humidity, feels like the lower to almost upper 90s the farther west you go. And a quick look at the night ahead of us has us dropping back into the 70s by 10 o'clock, down to 71 tonight. But now the heat and humidity is certainly ready to come back into play. We'll break down the numbers here in a bit.
See you then. Freeman Hospital today hosted a briefing to provide an update on COVID-19 cases at the hospital. Hospital officials say they have not quite reached record numbers, but the patients they're seeing are sicker than in the early days of the pandemic. They also say numbers are high enough that they have not been able to take in transfer patients.
Right now, we've been able to accommodate the patients that come through our emergency department. We have not in all cases been able to accept transfers from other hospitals because we are pretty full. But we have managed to be able to admit our own patients or patients who come through our emergency department.
Freeman says they have around 50 COVID-19 patients in that hospital. Mercy is reporting 64 COVID-19 patients. Today's briefing at Freeman Hospital also featured a relative of this Neosho, Missouri educator who lost her life to COVID-19. Melissa Osborne was a counselor at Goodman Elementary, and her co-workers say she was known for her willingness to help at a moment's notice. Melissa's uncle Todd says watching her suffer from COVID-19 has made him reconsider his previous resistance to coronavirus vaccines, and he's encouraging others to do the same as he reflects on the niece he lost too soon.
Very family oriented, loved little kids, loved helping little kids, helping the community, really involved with the church, with the choir, but a very caring person. Her and her family is a very caring person.
We're going to hear more about Melissa Osborne from her uncle and others who knew her tonight at 10. As the Delta variant continues to spread in the area and the start of the school year gets closer, it may seem like we're getting ready to repeat what happened in the fall of 2020. A year ago, a lot of school districts had to scramble to put together remote learning programs where students were learning from home and teachers were teaching on Zoom. But a big difference now is that remote learning cannot be offered as a permanent solution in Kansas. KOAM's Zach Dodge has why and details on what could be a stand-in solution.
What do you think when you hear the phrase remote learning? For some, it could be seeing their kids thriving and learning to navigate adversity. Others, it could be the exact opposite. Columbus Superintendent Brian Smith says over the last year, they saw the full gamut.
Some students worked very well within that system and did fine. Other students struggled with that.
But either way, remote learning is no longer a permanent option.
The legislature won't allow remote students, basically.
A new law in Kansas says that school districts cannot offer more than 40 hours of remote learning to students.
The option to just go full remote, even if we were going to consider it, was taken out of our hands.
If there are circumstances that demand a student attend remote learning for more than 40 hours, districts would have to submit a waiver request to the State Board of Education each time that happens.
So we're also going to have to track the number of hours that they've been in remote instruction.
But a stand-in solution may be available.
We're going to offer virtual school through Greenbush.
Columbus is partnering with the Greenbush Education Center to offer the Greenbush Virtual Academy to their students. It's for any grade level, and they'll still be Columbus students, but the curriculum will be offered by Greenbush, and students will learn from home.
We've already had a few sign up.
While the emphasis is still very much on in-person learning, with the pandemic still raging, Smith is glad they'll be able to offer another option.
It is important because some students do need virtual because of health issues and so forth. And some students will thrive in that environment. And I think schools are moving in that direction where we're looking more at individual needs than maybe we did in the past.
In Columbus, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Gerard says it will look at the Greenbush Virtual Academy as an option on a student-by-student basis depending on need. The Uniontown School District is also partnering with Greenbush to offer the program. Still ahead, a safari in the 4 states. We're going to tell you about the inspiration behind the Chanute, Kansas Safari Museum in this week's 4-state staycation. And later, the Kansas City traveled far and wide, from the jungles of South America to the plains of Tanzania. But it all started right here in the 4 states. KOAM photojournalist Liam Mandelbaum takes us to the Safari Museum in Chanute, Kansas, where their story comes to life.
The Johnsons were very passionate about creating a record of our natural and cultural world because they saw the modern world is expanding and growing into these pristine areas, and they wanted to create a record for future generations of the culture, the customs, as well as the wildlife. It begins with Martin Johnson. You got to start with an interesting character by the name of Jack London. He was part of the 1907 to 1909 Snark trip through the South Pacific, and that gave Martin the spark he needed and the passion to travel the world more and filmmake, and met Osa on a blind date, and together they traveled the world after getting married, and the rest is history, I guess. There were people doing filming in Africa, but it largely tended to be colonials, hunters, filming their exploits. And the Johnsons brought both an artistic as well as an anthropological, zoological eye to their work. They wanted to create a documentation of a world they believed was starting to vanish. They were truly a team. They were partners, 100%. What really makes this museum special is the story of Martin Osa Johnson. It's the story.
Another great story from our photographer Liam Mandelbaum. The Martin and Osa Johnson Safari Museum is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday and 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Sundays. Later, a local track and field athlete finds success at this year's Junior Olympics.
But first, we got a track returning heat and humidity for the next several days and maybe some rain chances too. We'll get to it next. Well, we definitely saw temperatures on the upswing once again for today as we saw less of the haze and more partly to mostly sunny skies throughout the course of the day. That certainly again had an impact on temperatures. We went from the lower to middle 80s. It felt really good to be out and about yesterday, but after we dropped back into the mid 60s this morning, back into the lower 90s we went for some of you. In fact, Joplin Regional officially hit 90 degrees so far this afternoon. And that's going to be the overall trend as we go throughout the rest of the forecast. Hot for Saturday and a bit humid, but we'll keep quiet under partly to mostly sunny skies. As we wrap up the weekend, though, on Sunday, I want to keep an eye on a system that could bring some thunderstorm chances our way, mainly during Sunday morning. But regardless, it's not going to scrub out the heat and humidity, so plan on that sticking around for much of next week. In the meantime, 7th range line, not a bad looking sky. Finally seeing some more blue after the northwest flow of the jet stream tried to keep some haze from the wildfires out west in place, but we're finally seeing more blue in the sky and partly to mostly sunny skies, allowing temperatures to stay at 87 right now. Feels like 91 with the dew point sitting in the upper 60s. Same story for much of the region, really. Mid to upper 80s rather for southwestern Missouri, near 90 for some spots in southeast Kansas and almost northeastern Oklahoma. But the dew points, unfortunately, we got to bring these numbers back into the presentation because they're back in the upper 60s to lower 70s across the region. Some muggy air certainly returning, and that's why it feels like the lower 90s in southwestern Missouri and almost mid to upper 90s in southeastern Kansas. Fortunately, once we get past sunset, we are going to turn mild throughout the night, but still warm at 10 o'clock with temperatures near 78, but 74 by midnight, down to 71 with quiet skies in place for tonight. There wasn't much to talk about throughout the course of the day, maybe a few weak showers around Shell City, but that's all we really have on the radar with much of the four-state region staying pretty quiet. No big features to show at the surface except for a frontal boundary to the north to help spark some storms out in the northern plains. But that front's not coming anywhere near us for the next several days. But this upper low helping to fuel these thunderstorms, that wants to come into play by Sunday. But even with that, we're seeing this upper ridge start to build back in. That's what's going to keep the heat and humidity in place for the next several days. As we continue throughout the rest of the evening, any partly sunny skies still out there will fade away. So I'm expecting mostly clear skies for your Saturday morning. And as a result, temperatures will be able to drop back to about 71 with a light south breeze at 5 to 10. Partly to mostly sunny skies throughout the day, but as that south wind kind of kicks into gear at 5 to 15, it's going to push us to 87 by noon and afternoon highs around 92. But at least we can get by Saturday on a dry note overall and even Saturday night. But here comes Sunday. This is the most aggressive on the future track that I can show you to at least show a chance for scattered thunderstorms to push on through Sunday morning before we dry out during the afternoon. So that's our next chance for potential storms that I'll be keeping an eye on. But you can see it doesn't scrub out the heat and humidity. And with that jet staying to the north, plan on highs in the 90s for sure throughout much of next week, even with a slim chance for an afternoon storm or two throughout much of next week. So Dow, we're keeping temperatures pretty simple here. 92 tomorrow and Sunday, 93 Monday, mid-90s through the middle of next week. And don't forget about the mornings starting out warm in the mid-70s.
Yeah, very hot. That's about as simple as you can get, I guess. Thanks, Nick. The zoo in Kansas City, Missouri says it's going to vaccinate animals that are susceptible to COVID-19. That includes its great apes and big cats. The zoo says it'll use a vaccine that's made for animals. Notes that more than 11,000 doses have gone to almost 70 zoos. The Kansas City Zoo says team members also are wearing PPE when working with animals. Coming up in sports, we're going to hear from the Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team after their season ends in the regional tournament. Plus, a Joplin High School standout brings home 2 medals from the AAU Junior Olympics. Jacob Leonard joins us with that story next.
Well, Joplin's Donovan Fowler just got back from the AAU Junior Olympics this week in Houston. Now, the Joplin standout participated in 2 events, making the podium in each of them. And Danny Terzer catches up with Fowler to talk about his successful trip down to Texas.
Donovan Fowler returns from the Junior Olympics with medals in both his events.
I'm pretty happy with the numbers that I was able to put up down there.
The Joplin senior faced a tough field of competition.
Last year, I never would have believed that I would have been able to get up there next, second place and fourth place next to all the 17 and 18-year-olds.
Fowler jumped 24 feet 3 inches in the long jump, a new personal record, and 49 feet 2.25 inches in the triple jump.
I only started track my 8th grade year, and some of them have been doing it since they were like 8 and under, 10, stuff like that. So it made me feel really good about myself, not being able to do it for so long, but being able to compete with the people that have done it for so long.
It's his 3rd time competing in the Junior Olympics. Fowler hopes to compete in the Paris Games in 2024.
I do want to end up making it to the Olympic trials and then going to the Olympics in Paris, but for that I have to have like the right amount of coaching staff. So I have multiple colleges that are talking to me.
He's been learning from this year's Olympians in Tokyo.
Watching it, I was able to look at the techniques a little bit more, kind of see and feel what it would have been like to be there.
But first, Fowler still has 1 year left representing the Eagles.
My senior season, just break my records over and over again. Now I don't really have any more competition, especially at state. So after that, I don't know where to go, so I'm going to have to learn how to push myself without any competition there.
In Joplin, Danny Terzer, KOAM Sports.
Fowler's headed into his senior season at Joplin High School, and he already holds the school records in both the long jump and triple jump. The Pittsburgh American Legion baseball team saw its season end in the regional tournament on Thursday. The Post 64 fell to Gretna Post 216 out of Nebraska for their 2nd loss of the double elimination tournament. Now, despite their exit from regionals, no doubt it was a good summer for Pittsburgh. The team finished with a 24-9 overall record and won their first state championship since 2014. More than that, though, this team raised expectations and goals for the program moving forward.
Our goal was to win the state championship, and we got it. We completed it, and now we can start expanding onto, hey, going to the regional, winning 2 games, winning 3 games, really competing there. Now that we've got our goals in mind, we know they're achievable, and it makes it a lot easier to go out and get them every year.
In the major leagues, I-70 series time between Kansas City and St. Louis. The Cardinals host the Royals tonight in Game 1 of their 3-game weekend series. It'll be Mike Minor on the hill for Kansas City, facing Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals. Game time for that one is at 7:15. We'll have highlights from the game right here tonight at 10. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news right after the break.
Time now to honor a local veteran, Sergeant Kendall Hoffman. The Eve, Missouri native served in the U.S. Army, and we are proud to salute Sergeant Kendall Hoffman. He's tonight's 4-state hero. Jordan Nobby joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14, more on the community of Goodman, Missouri, mourning the loss of an elementary school counselor. Plus, experts expect a nationwide nurse shortage to only get worse. I'm going to show you what's left after a whole semi-trailer carrying aerosol cans exploded. No reports of injuries, by the way. That, of course, much more coming your way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Jordan, thanks. Boy, it's been an unusually long stretch of days that we have not hit 90 degrees considering the time of year.
Yeah, unfortunately that came to an end today with Joplin hitting 90, and those 90s are going to stick around for the next several days. 92 tomorrow with a dry Saturday at least. We'll watch for thunderstorm and chances Sunday morning. Still highs around 92, and we'll just hold mainly steady in the mid-90s for much of next week.
Final sports note.
It's really exciting for me to say this. Like, college football is almost here. Missouri Southern Lions start football practice tomorrow morning. So from now until December, we're pretty much all football here.
Better morning practice than late in the day.
No kidding.
Even the NFL preseason just around the corner. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 10. Let's make it a great evening.